Stormblood Part 3. The liberation of Alamigo signals the end of an era of tyranny. Here, on the cusp of a new age of freedom, her people must decide how they will greet their future and reconcile with their past. What lies ahead for Lys in her efforts to rebuild the nation? What choices plague Fordola from within her prison cell? And to where will Raubon return, now that the dream of his homeland has at last become a reality? That's right. Yeah. You've a heart of gold. Oh yeah, that's just same. Ehrenwald's adventure. Lys seems troubled.
Come to see how we're getting on?
Indeed.
We've made good progress since we took back Alamigo, but there's one big issue we still have to address. Leadership. The Domans had Lord Hien ready and willing to take the throne, but we've got no one like that here. Theodoric was our last ruler, and he wasn't called the Mad King for nothing.
Suffice it to say, our people have had their fill of kings, which means we need to find a new way forward.
If only it were that easy. Everyone and his uncle has an opinion. For the time being, we're just going to have to keep leaning on General Aldin and the Alliance for support, and see if we can't find a solution together. Something tells me we're going to be hosting a lot of meetings in the near future. But if that's what it takes, I'm ready to talk till my jaw aches. The Reach is yours, Nago. Don't do anything I wouldn't.
Aye, aye, Commander.
Ah, there you are. I've been searching all over for you. Now, don't worry, it's nothing bad. That said, this might not be the best place to talk. Will you join me? I'll get to the point. Might you be interested in a spot of adventure?
Sure.
After all, we were adventurous before we were scions, were we not? After routing the Imperials and liberating Alamigo, I reckon we've earned a bit of respite, don't you? And what better way to spend it than by returning to our roots? So, what say you? Shall we call on Alphino and go adventuring?
Hey, why Alphino? What will you say? Twist my arm, why don't you? It's what we do, I suppose. I'll go with the first. I think I know where this is leading, if I remember correctly. Because isn't there a dungeon in the locks where you all go like delving for treasure or something, and it's like a contest between you all or us all or whatever? Right then, let's go and find Master Levier. Actually, leave that to me. I want you fresh for our little adventure. Wait for us by the Aetheryte and we'll be along shortly. See you there. Well, if that is the case, that'll be a nice little I don't know what you'd call it, just I don't know, just after having done the Dark Knight quest, it'll be nice to do a dungeon. Greetings, Lavenza. 'Twould seem we are to accompany Ehrenwald on some manner of escapade. Have you any idea what we've gotten ourselves into? Yeah, why is he calling on Alphino for this? I mean, Alphino was never an adventurer. Like, I thought it was maybe Alphino and his idea, and they wanted me to come along, but... Allow me to explain. It'll be something of a history lesson, but I'll try to be brief. No snoring, if you please. Now, the events I would speak of occurred before the occupation, back when Alamigo was still a monarchy and Theodoric sat the throne. A uniquely brutal despot, by all accounts. That he was. The King of Ruins suffered no rivals, real or imagined, and his dispute with the monks of the Fist ended with Ralger's Reach being burned to the ground. His dispute with the monks of the Fist. Okay. In the later years of his rule, he was seized by the unshakable belief that unseen forces were conspiring to steal his crown, and so he ordered that every soul with a claim to the throne be executed, including his own family. Jeez. The wealth of the poor sods he put to death became the property of the king, and it said that these royal treasures were hoarded somewhere in the palace. Thus was born the legend of the Mad King's Trove. Yeah, and that last sentence, why I drifted off for a second there, I was thinking, wait a minute, are we doing the what's the dungeon called? Like the Fist of Ralger or whatever, the dungeon that's here? And I was like, wait a minute, because he was talking about the monks or whatever, and I was like, are we doing that? And I was like, no, that was a 4.0 dungeon. But yeah, this is the one I was thinking of. Ah, I believe I see the direction our adventure is to take. I assume you have a mind to unearth this hidden bounty? You assume correctly. And would I also be correct in assuming that this legend is widely known? Others must surely have gone in search for your prize, tempting as it seems. Well, of course we won't be the first to make the attempt. Allowing Alamigo's following Alamigo's liberation, more than a few eager soldiers turned the palace upside down in hopes of claiming an early fortune. But even after scouring every room from dawn till dusk, they uncovered not a single coin. Their gold lust drained away as quickly as it had come, and the legend of the Mad King's Trove remained simply that, a legend. But I see you have no intention of letting the story end there. What self-respecting adventurer would? Imagine the three of us delving into a decades-old mystery. Tell me the thought doesn't set your heart to racing. All right. If anyone can find that treasure, it's us. But even if we don't, the adventure will be reward enough, I reckon. The darkness below. You can almost see the wheels turning in Alphino's head. The news of Doma and Alamigo's liberation has kindled the flames of revolution in every corner of the Empire. I hear the imperial province of Dalmasca has already risen up in rebellion, which means the Garleans must surely have their hands full. What better time than now to indulge in such a diversion? Tell us, Ehrenvold, have we any clues as to where we might begin our search? Well, judging by how the other treasure hunters fared, nosing about the palace isn't like to get us anywhere. So we'll probably need to ask around. Would that be another way of saying no? Well, yes. I see. In that case, I shall pay a visit to the Allied archivists, and request access to the records seized from the Imperials. The Garleans are meticulous about such things. If they uncovered the trove during their occupation, the event is certain to have been recorded. In the meantime, the two of you can track down those who worked as palace servants and officials in Theodoric's day. Given that they would have been at least 20 at the time, you'll be looking for people who have seen 40 summers or more. Anything they can tell you about the king and his bloody deeds may prove useful, so be sure to listen well. Ehrenvold, pray try your luck in the fringes and the peaks, whilst Lavenza makes the rounds in the Alamigan Quarter. Geez, all I have to do is go to the Alamigan Quarter and he has to go through the fringes and the peaks? Huh. And there I was thinking I was the party leader. Not that I mind, of course. Let's be about it, huh? We can meet afterwards at Gilbert's Gate. Or Gilbardi's Gate. Gilbardi's Gate. Okay, Alamigan Quarter. This is an interesting... I wonder how... Well, I can't imagine 4.1 is nothing but this, but I wonder how much of it is this. You know, after like, 3.5, 4 months to come out with, this fun little romp that doesn't really have anything to do with the story. Or the overarching story. In the palace? No, not me, lass. Surely you've heard stories of the Mad King. He used to hold public executions up on the divine audience. Anyone, and I mean anyone, suspected of conspiring against the crown was flung from the top of those steps. Suffice it to say that I stayed as far away from the palace as possible. Yeah, I think it best that the, king not even know your name. You want to hear an old maid's story? Yeah, you want to hear an old maid's stories, do you? Well, most of what I know of the Mad King is common knowledge. We'd only see his royal majesty when he deigned to attend the executions he'd ordered, and after a while, even watching his enemies die wasn't enough to coax him out of hiding. Wow. They say he started seeing assassins in every shadow, and wouldn't set foot outside the palace walls. I was offered work there as a royal servant once, but the mere thought of it left me in a cold sweat. Yep. Oh, come on. I guess I should have just flown up and over. Or was she... No. Yeah, I was thinking, was she just right over there and I took the long route? I served at the pleasure of King Theodoric and lived to tell the tale. One of the palace guards I was. Truth be told, it was a dark chapter in my life and one that I'd sooner forget. Hardly a night went by when we didn't hear blood-curdling screams echoing from the inner chambers, which of course we were under orders to ignore. Jeez. So we'd stand still as statues, trying not to imagine what horrors were unfolding within. If you're hell's bent on finding out what happened in the palace, head down the street here and ask old Arnold. He was the king's head scribe. Jeez. Yeah, I can only imagine, you know, just what it was like, you know, to live, how would I put it, like, in a job that was close to the king in any way, and to have survived it. Just, yes, I'm Arnold. What do you want with me? You would have me dredge up some decidedly unsavory memories? Yet, if Alamigo is to move forward, we must needs acknowledge the misdeeds of the past. Very well. I shall tell you what I remember. I take it you know of Theodoric's paranoia and the public executions of his kinsmen? Those were terrible enough, but in his last days, the king's fevered mind settled upon an even grislier method of disposal, which only a chosen few were unfortunate enough to witness. His Majesty ordered the court thaumaturge to unleash a vile curse upon the remaining members of the royal family, a magic which transformed them into fiends of hideous aspect. The resulting monstrosities were then cast into the darkness below the palace. Even now, my sleep is troubled by nightmares. If others of Theodoric's blood were prone to share his madness, then mayhap it is a kindness that the monarchy ended with him. Yeah. So this is it, and this is, I think, you know, the place where the treasure is at. I think it's where, you know, those relatives, those monstrosities were cast out to. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Excellent timing as ever. We have but this moment returned from our own intelligence gathering efforts. Since we're all here, why don't we share what we've learned? Allow me to begin then. As promised, I scoured the Imperial records for any mention of fantastic treasures, and found precisely none. It is just possible, I suppose, that a corrupt official deliberately hid the fact of the trove's discovery, hoping to enrich himself, but I find it rather unlikely that so valuable a find would stay secret for long. I conclude that our prize either does not exist, or that the Imperials somehow overlooked it. And what of you, Lavenza? Were your investigations any more fruitful? Turned into monsters? And what could he mean by this darkness beneath the palace, I wonder? I met an old man in Alighieri who spoke of the palace's subterranean prison, but he said not of cursed abominations. The Imperial archives were also silent on the subject of fiends inside the palace grounds. Could this scribe fellow have been spinning her a yarn, do you think? Do you believe him, Lavenza? His fear seemed genuine. He may have been lying. No, I say his fear seemed genuine. I mean, you know, the fact that he says, like, he has nightmares or whatever. If he was afraid, that does lend credence to the tale, though I'm not sure how that helps us in our search. Do not be so hasty. Arnold's anecdote may very well have told us where the trove is hidden. But ere I share my theory, there's a matter I would clarify. Ehrenwald, you spoke of light-hearted adventure, but I sense a deeper motive for this expedition. Why are you so intent on finding this treasure? That was an abrupt stop to the music. It wasn't all pretense, I swear it. But you're right. My father was in the Imperial Army, a man of Garlean blood. I trust you know what I mean when I say that my Alamegan mother did not welcome my arrival. Oh, jeez. As I grew, she would crack my brow, or check my brow, jeez, crack. She would check my brow over and over, convinced that a spot on my skin was an emerging third eye, like the kind you see in pureblood Garleans. My mother did not care for this taunting reminder of my heritage, and took up a knife. War paint serves to cover the scar. Jeez. In the end, she turned me out into the street, and I was left to haunt the alleyways of Alamigo, a feral child who got what he needed through begging, cunning, or worse. The best I can say about the years that followed is that I survived, but I hated the animal I had become. Eventually, I left the city behind me and joined a group of refugees bound for the other side of the wall. It was then that I turned to adventuring, and that road led me into the company of the Scions. I tell you this so that you understand. I know all too well what poverty and hunger can do to a person. I drew steel on ordinary folk for a measly crust of bread. With Theodoric's gold, I could spare my countrymen the shame of living like that. Thank you, Ehrenwald, and I apologize. That cannot have been pleasant to recall, but I felt it best to be clear in our intentions. Well, Lavenza, are you content to surrender the treasure to Ehrenwald's noble cause and claim the thrill of adventure as your reward? Yeah, I mean, I'm good. My coffer is full enough. Then I should be glad to tell you my theory on the resting place of the Mad King's Trove, if you are minded to hear it. Indeed I am. Thank you for watching this video. Tonight's stream was phenomenal. So we did the Dark Knight Stormblood quests and started into 4.1. And again, between the Dark Knight stuff and the Fordola stuff in 4.1, this was just with story tonight. Just a game. So yeah, if you enjoyed this and you want to see more, like, comment, subscribe. If you want to see this stuff live because it's amazing, link to my Twitch is in the description down below. Thank you again for watching. Have a good one.